Good morning. For those of you who like a reflection, here's one in Teddy's pool. But joking aside, that's not the reason I'm talking to you today. Jonathan was talking about Mark 6 last week. It reminded me of why I like the end of that passage. Initially, Jesus had sent the men, the disciples, off to Bethsaida. If you imagine, Bethsaida was over the other side of the water by there. He's one of Teddy's little boats. It's not a great one, but it does a job of showing you. It goes over there to Bethsaida. They get caught in a wind or rain or whatever it was, and they get caught up and they're spinning around, whatever's happening to them, this tumultuous sea, and they're very, very scared. But Jesus had sent them in that direction. He was praying for them back on the land as well. And he had left them disbelieving what had just happened with feeding the 5,000. And whilst they're sort of rocking around the place and frightened to death, Jesus then walks alongside them with the intention of even passing them. And then once they're back in the boats, he then sends them in a completely opposite direction to come back to Gennesaret. Now that always baffled me at first, and I didn't understand what that was all about until I read the passage. And then I thought about how in my life God has sent me in what I think is in one direction, and I feel so sure it's God sending me there, and there's every indication by his word, his people, his spirit that it is. And then I have great trouble when I get there, and I feel like I'm striving a bit when I get there, and I haven't actually got there. I'm on my way there, and then he sends me in a completely different direction, and I don't understand. And later it becomes clear to me he's actually just trying to prove my faith. He's trying to help me grow in him. So I read this passage in light of that, and hopefully that will become clear to you why that might be the feelings that I get when I read this passage. And maybe it will strike a chord with you too if you're in a position where you feel like you've had to go in one direction and all of a sudden it's completely changed for you. And I hope you can find faith because of who he is. Immediately he made his disciples get into the boat and go before him to the other side, to Bethsaida, while he dismissed the crowd. And after he had taken leave of them, he went up on the mountain to pray. And when the evening came, the boat was out on the sea, and he was alone on the land. And he saw that they were making headway painfully, for the wind was against them. And about the 4th watch of the night he came to them, walking on the sea. He meant to pass them by, but when they saw him walking on the sea, they thought it was a ghost and cried out. For they all saw him and were terrified. But immediately he spoke to them and said, "Take heart, it is I. Do not be afraid." And he got into the boat with them, and the wind ceased. And they were utterly astounded, for they did not understand about the loaves, but their hearts were hardened. When they had crossed over, they came to land at Gennesaret and moored there to the shore. The reason I tell you that passage again, obviously not as eloquently as Jonathan, but is because it's meant a lot in my life. But you'll notice that Jesus left them until the 4th watch of the night before he came to them. He didn't just leave them to stew. He left them to explore their need for him. And when he came to them, although they were terrified at the sight of him, at the same time they recognised they needed him so much at that point. And he was able to calm the waters that no one else could. And sometimes I think God just helps us to get into situations sometimes where we can see more of who he is and more of why he's trying to guide and lead us, and have faith in him. Thank you for letting me share this morning. Bye-bye.